Hello everyone and welcome to the January MCPS Student Climate Action Council meeting. Today is January 24th, 2024 and it is approximately 6 p.m. Thank you to everyone attending in person, virtually, or watching the live stream online. We will begin with a quick round of introductions starting on this side of the table. Can each council member please share their name, grade, school, and region that they represent?
Hello everyone, my name is Faith Na and I'm a current senior at Poolsville High School and I represent the upper north area of Montgomery County.
Hello everyone, my name is Raj Awasthi. I am a freshman at Montgomery Blair High School and I represent the DCC area.
Hi everyone, my name is Maggie McNulty. I'm a senior at Northwest High School and I represent the lower north area.
Hi everyone, my name is Quinley Borden. I'm a freshman at Richard Montgomery High School and I'm an at-large council member.
Hi, my name is Celestia Krupali. I'm a junior at Rockville High School and I am a council member for the central area.
Hi everyone, my name is Peter Boyko. I'm the other Lower North Council member. I'm a sophomore at Northwest High School, and as a Lower North Council member, I oversee the Northwest, Gaithersburg, Quince Orchard, and Seneca Valley High School clusters.
Hi everyone, my name is Lumina Zong and I'm a junior at Winston Churchill High School. I represent the West area as a council member.
Hi everyone, my name is Cindy Bagari. I am a sophomore at Clarksburg High School and I represent the Upper North area.
Hi everybody, my name is Lucas Roca. I'm a senior from Richard Montgomery and I'm one of the 3 student advisors.
Hi everyone, my name is Mia Minus. I'm a senior at Blake High School and I represent the Northeast Consortium.
Hi everyone, my name is Nikita Botts. I'm a junior at Montgomery Blair High School and I represent the DCC area.
Hi everyone, my name is Walter Shaw. I'm in 10th grade and go to Richard Montgomery High School and I am a council member representing the central area.
Alrighty, thank you everyone so much. So now we're going to move into our public comments. So public comments is an opportunity for students to sign up to testify at Student Climate Action Council meetings. And it's one of the many ways that the council strives to hear and represent the student voice. So at each meeting, the council reserves 20 slots for public comment. And although we had no student or community member to sign up to testify today, I would like to remind our audience that public comments are a wonderful opportunity to raise your sustainability and environmental concerns.
Yes, thank you, Lumina. I completely agree. Since we didn't have any public comments today, we will now move on to hearing updates from our partners. Our first and only partner for this evening is Mr. Harris Traubman with the Division of Sustainability and Compliance, providing an update regarding the upcoming Urban Farm and Climate Hub Development Project at Loiterman Middle School that will take place on Earth Day. So do you think you can come up to the podium and reintroduce this project really quickly and talk about how the SCAC can get involved?
Good evening. Sorry, I didn't realize this was going to be so formal tonight. So thank you again for inviting me again to speak. So on April 22nd, which is an out-of-school day, we will be partnering with the Student Climate Action Council on a program to launch the first Resiliency Education Action Climate Habitat Reach Hub, which will consist of a 1-acre urban farm and other climate features. We're currently working with our partners to envision what the day will look like. We've been meeting with different partners like Montgomery County Parks, Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection, Habitat for Humanity. We're envisioning a groundbreaking ceremony, inviting some of our officials from MCPS as well as county officials and local partners to have a groundbreaking ceremony around 9 o'clock, and then around 9:30 to 12:30 having a work session to build it. Right now, we're working closely with some of your colleagues here on the Student Climate SCAC on outreach which will consist of a flyer amongst other items. So pretty excited about the project. We're looking at some of the permanent infrastructure, and we're also working with partners to secure additional funding, both private and government. So that I can take any questions you all may have.
Is there an update on the flyer that the council is organizing for this event?
Yes, so Walter and I and Mr. Trobman and Ms. Strobel will be meeting soon to discuss the format and design of the flyer.
Yeah. Thank you all for working on that. It'd be nice to have it out.
Any other questions from the council members regarding the event? This is, I believe, an SSL opportunity.
Yeah, so we're gonna offer student learning hours. The only thing that could impact the day is, as you all know, we have a makeup date. So understand that could potentially be one of the makeup dates of school. So that would mean that we would have to change the date and find an alternative.
Yeah, so in addition to the flyer, which the SCAC is working on for this event, is there anything else you need help with in planning this event? Any outreach that we can do?
Yeah. So meeting with the schools and planning the day of would be really helpful. Soliciting donations like for food and working on figuring out some of the logistics like tools on the day of and getting the word out would be extremely helpful. You know.
Yeah, so something we'll talk about a little bit later is that the council has begun starting school visits, and actually in our presentation for the school visits, when we visit these environmental clubs at each school, we advertise the Loiterman event. Of course, it's still far away, and we do say in the slide that details are still being discussed, but we do advertise this event, and through these school visits, we're really developing strong connections with these schools and clubs, and it's really great.
And I wanted to pass on, our office had the opportunity to review the agenda as well as the slide decks that you all put together, and I think we were all very, very pleased and excited of the progress you all are making. So we want to really congratulate you all on the efforts to build out the slide deck and the outreach, and there's a lot of behind the scenes work that's being done on our side to build additional partnerships. For instance, last week we had a couple meetings with Parks and Rec, and have expressed our desire to build a stronger partnership with them to be able to support the Green Schools Initiative, which is really important because the Green Schools, Mr. Derby was present at that meeting, and we really focused in on the green centers, right? And the green centers, many of these park locations are green centers, and the green centers can then go and support that. So one of the missing pieces that Parks asked for, and some of our other partners that we're working to build this collaboration with, is what are the schools that need that outreach? So as you make those touch points, we now have additional partners that can do that. And we've also, Mr. Derby and Mr. Benjaminson, myself have also been working on a partnership with the Glenstone Museum. We're pleased to, the Glenstone Museum has submitted their application to become a green center. They've also, believe Blake High School recently had a visit there, and they provided them a tour of the entire outside. Loiterman Middle School was supposed to, but they got snowed out. So I think, 4 or 5 schools that are scheduled to, and the Glenstone Museum is covering the complete cost of the substitute teacher, et cetera. So it's a great collaboration between the partnerships and then you all's outreach. It's starting to build some tremendous capacity, and I think we're going to see the fruits of that labor soon.
Yes, I actually attended that event at Blake High School. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Glenstone is great. Like, it's amazing. I love how they incorporated the art and the environment and just how they made it just engaging for everyone and to learn more about. We also learned about composting, which was really cool to me. But and we saw their garden and their farming. But yeah, it was a great event.
Awesome. Great.
So I just had a really quick question
Sure.
regarding the Loiterman project. So I believe that on the day of the project, it will be from 9 through.
Yeah, 1:30, 2 o'clock. Yeah, so
Okay.
we'll have to, this is something where I think having separate conversations with you all and getting your input
Right.
of what would be best, right? So
Right,
I
yeah.
think the number one goal there is to get students out there and engaged. And we have to get to realistic goals of what we can do for the day, right? So we've started to call it a little bit of a groundbreaking ceremony purposefully because we're celebrating something, right? And then the second piece of this is that, we do want to get some action done on that day. So figuring out, is it 2 hours that we're working, 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and, moving soil and having spillover. So there's a lot of logistics that need to come together. We're also working with the Office of the General Counsel, Legal, to be able to get the MOU done and stuff so that we can make sure everything's in order ahead of time for the event.
Right. So students will be provided with lunches, correct?
Yeah, and that we're planning to provide lunch. So last time we were able to get a donation from Pepco. So I have a meeting tomorrow with them as well to see if that's a possibility. But I know you all have some significant contacts, so that's something else that you all could help out with in terms of if you all have any additional contacts. We could have sponsorship for the event as well. So it's going to be fun. All right.
I just wanted to make one comment about the outreach. I know you all are great at that, and you obviously know what is going to appeal to your age group. But I don't know if you're aware of all the support the communications department can provide to you. Have you done that before? I mean, I know MCPS TV and whatnot, but when we had an event at the Smith Center in the fall, we started talking in the summer, and they came up with this fantastic plan. They created the flyers, which I know you can do, but they got it into the 5 things to know that goes to every family on Thursday nights, and did a bulletin for all the staff, and just came up with this really, and had MCPS TV come out on that day.
I'd just like to recommend that you submit a request to the communications department to help you with your outreach efforts. They really know all the different venues that MCPS uses and can easily help you with the creation of materials as well as the dissemination so that every family in MCPS and every staff member in MCPS would have access to that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention that Mrs. Strobel is already in touch with the communications office. And so you can work directly with her to be able to get that. So we're planning a press release, as well as we want to make sure that we reach out to the different media stations ahead of time to be able to get the coverage for the event. And I think that's the biggest impact. It's a good point. It's something that Mr. Meyer and I were talking about that earlier, that we've gotten a lot of impact over some of these outreach events, and it's because we got the press coverage of them as well.
So I was going to add on to that. I think that, from a student perspective, the SCAC has been effective, I think, in promoting a lot of what we're doing, just simply through a banner announcement. So I am emailing you the form for the global request announcement that we've been working with comms with. But I think that if you want us to, if you have a list of different events maybe, or just brief descriptions of what you want us to request, we can also just do that for you. I think that is easy because students see that when they log into their classroom all the time.
It's good to know. So your feedback, appreciate that. I wouldn't know that from the staff side. So having your student perspective of that, I wouldn't know that. That's really helpful.
That was actually how all of us saw the SCAC opportunity. So, and it resulted in 316 applications, I believe. So it does have a very big impact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any last questions, comments? If not, then we can move on to the next agenda item. But before we do that, thank you so much for speaking and coming out and sharing about this event. And everyone in person, virtual, watching online, show up April 22nd, Earth Day. There's no school on that day to Loiterman Middle School. SSL hours and lunch are provided. And with that, I can pass it off to my co-chair, Lumina, to take it from here.
Awesome, thank you, Peter. So we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is updates. So we're going to hear from all of our different committees. And for those unaware, the Student Climate Action Council has 5 different committees that our council members are a part of. So that includes policy, grants, communications, climate ambassadors, and operations and outreach. So each council member is in 2 or 3 of these committees, and each committee works on different projects that we're going to be sharing updates about. So firstly, we're going to hear from our policy committee. Okay, so they are going to start off with artificial turfs.
So I can start, and any council members can feel free to add on. But like Lumina mentioned, we have a policy committee in the SCAC, and one exciting project that we're working on is a group of 40-plus council members and climate ambassadors are working hard to prepare this comprehensive report that researches artificial turf and natural grass, the advantages and disadvantages of both. And then we hope to provide a recommendation to the board after we conclude this research and even testify and give the board our report. In some ways, we're conducting our research is not only are we, researching online, but we're also interviewing key stakeholders in our community, from Montgomery Parks to MCPS to the Germantown Soccerplex, and we're trying to compile as much information as possible for this report. But in addition to this report, we also have a media campaign, which I can let Nikita talk about a little bit.
Yeah, so we're also planning a very exciting media campaign. We already started by making a petition that we have already distributed throughout Instagram, and we're also planning to make a documentary that we will submit to the Board of Education and also through our various social media channels, and we're planning that imminently. So yeah.
Yes, and we're hoping to have this report and all research done by late February, early March, around that time. And we'll keep you updated. We have, like Nikita mentioned, a post online raising awareness about turf. And yeah, that's pretty much the project. Any other updates from council members on artificial turf? Okay, and then I can pass it off to someone who is working on environmental literacy.
Okay, so I know that Megan Stallard, who is not here with us today, but also one of the council members at large with Quinley Borden, she is leading the environmental literacy program. So essentially, we are having different student ambassadors work with Joanna Snyder, who is from MCPTA, and they are working to essentially strategize how we can promote environmental sustainability in different MCPS curriculums, especially not only just from a social studies perspective, or not from just a science perspective, but also a social studies perspective. So those ambassadors who are tuning in right now and are interested in, please join that channel. I think that project is up and running currently. So there's not that many status updates, but essentially we're getting into strategic planning with Megan, and we should have more plans in the future. Thanks.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I know that Antonio, one of our West area council members, is also working on this environmental literacy project, and I believe that he has met up with some of the people who work on the curriculum for social studies in MCPS and has had a couple of discussions with them.
Okay, if that's all for environmental literacy, we can transition to any updates regarding our operating budget testimony.
So we are planning on testifying at the next MCPS Board of Education operating budget meeting. So far we've finished writing the testimony, and Nikita, Megan, and I are going to be presenting this to MCPS. So in that testimony, we're basically just going to go over what SCAC is, our grant program, and the significance of those grants that we've given out in order to request to be funded for the next upcoming year.
And I just have one thing to add on to what Walter said. He covered pretty much everything. But again, anyone here as part of any council member, as part of the Student Climate Action Council, again, since this testimony is on behalf of everyone, I did share the link to the testimony in the Slack channel, in the general channel, and I can send it again tonight. If you have any edits, please get them in before midnight this evening, because I will be sending them to the Board of Education tomorrow before we testify. So if anyone has any edits, please feel free to look over and suggest, but just have them in by tonight. Thank you.
And I'll just add on real quick, just to clarify, that operating budget testimony is specifically to request new funding, also introducing and announcing our status as a newly formed council. But I think the big portion to that is the fact that the fiscal year budget for 2024, this current year, we were allotted $75,000, but we're not actually going to have that funding and support renewed. And since that makes up a big aspect of what we're doing to empower student sustainability projects, I think that is why the council drafted that testimony and then is working on that. So I think any council members who have opinions on how we should word that to the board, how we should craft our request, that is all really important in submitting. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much to our policy committee for all your updates. And now we will be transitioning over to grants. So I can start off with a quick update. So for grants, we did finish our round 1 of grant applications. So thank you to all of our amazing council members for voting and helping to review these applications. We're super excited to be able to fund so many projects and have already sent out all the emails. And we are currently in the process of transferring those funds to the different schools. And we would also like to thank everyone who applied to our grant program. In terms of round 2, we are planning on getting those rolling out in early February, and those will close tentatively around late March. The timeline is still being discussed, but that information will be sent out to students very soon. And so for this round of applications, we're hoping to have it be rolling so that students can submit it whenever they would like to, and we will be reviewing them on a rolling basis as well. So would anyone else like to share any updates regarding grants, especially with how we are going to be advertising these round 2 applications?
I just got a message that Antonio wanted to speak over the Zoom, so I'm going to make sure that he can do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Is that?
Yes, we can.
Oh, awesome. So I just wanted to mention really quickly in terms of kind of grants and round 2 applications. We did have a meeting that was grants, but also kind of our general counsel about some of the, I wouldn't say issues, rather implications around having conflicts of interest as it pertains to the grant application. And so moving forward in round 2, we've made it explicitly clear through a set of bylaws that we're currently drafting, but will also be included on the application, that no council member of the SCAC will be able to actually apply on behalf of an organization for a request for funding. And if a council member is affiliated with an organization that is applying for a request for funding, they will be expected to recuse themselves from the voting process as it pertains to that request. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Antonio. Those are definitely very important updates that we're going to be implementing into round 2. So I can touch briefly on how we're planning on advertising these applications. So for round 2, we definitely want to push these out to every single MCPS middle and high school student so that they know about this opportunity. So hopefully we can get this on our Canvas page, really push it out through Instagram. I know we have a new TikTok account, so getting some videos there, and also working with MCPS to create a grant announcement video. But I would love to hear if anyone else has any other ideas.
Well, I quickly just have one question. So regarding the processes for how we're outlining the grants, I think as someone who's been working on the website development aspect, I think it would be good if that kind of grant process we outlined we could publish that rather than having just all of the rules kind of convoluted. And I think if we outline that and then publish it on the website, make it accessible to students, it would be a little bit easier for not only council members to understand expectations, but also ambassadors moving forward what they could expect, and making sure that we really just have a transparent process.
I love that idea. Thank you so much, Faith. Yeah, I know that for round one, we had like a Google document where we listed out all of the descriptions and rules. So I think having that on the website will be very accessible for all students. So that's really great. Thank you so much. Does anyone else have anything? Oh, go ahead.
You had it already. I had a question. I believe last time we heard from Associate Superintendent Mr. Riley about spending the funds within this fiscal year. Have you all factored that in with this current grant application, this second phase, in terms of, I believe funding would end June 30th, and I think it has to be spent a couple weeks before that. Are you putting that into this current grant, or?
I'm not sure if the schools have to spend it by the 30th, or just the council has to award it and transfer it to the schools by that day. Because right now it's the council's money for this fiscal year. And when this fiscal year is up, it becomes MCPS general fund money if it's not spent. But if it's awarded to schools by June 30th, they can spend it after that time. Okay, so they have to encumber it or have an obligation, a plan for spending it that's already been, it may not have actually transferred yet to the vendor or whoever's getting it, but a plan. And as long as I'm talking, I just wanted to know what your plan is, if you have one, I'm sure you do, for advertising the grants that were already awarded, and then the next one. I just think it's a great opportunity for you all to, brag about your accomplishments, to have other kids see, oh wow, that's the kind of thing I could do at my school, and so on, and build a lot of energy around it.
That's a really good point. I think definitely, like, firstly, to address regarding the timeline with the grants, I think definitely we will be able to send out round two, the funds, before June 30th. So thank you so much for bringing that up. In terms of advertising, I think that, well, advertising the ones that we just did, I definitely think that we should feature all of our accepted grant applicants, definitely on Instagram, and then possibly we could do a video maybe, and also on our website. I think it'd be really good to feature them. And also, we will be asking for like updates from our applicants. So, they can send in videos and images of their projects, so we can also feature those too. But I'd love to pass it to anyone else who has any ideas for that.
Yeah, I was just going to add, comms can definitely work on a project for that, or a post for that, and just showcase their work.
I have one thing. Oh, sorry. I was just one quick thing to add. I think when we're thinking about advertising round two grant applications, it would not also be a bad idea to maybe reach out to all the contacts we have at school. So principals, green teams, just everyone we can, just so everyone is looped in as well.
Yeah, so in regards to the projects being posted on the Instagram, I think that's a really great idea. I think something we could do is just like have pictures of some of like the projects and ask like the people who are running the projects to send those in, just so we can make a quick post and like put some quick information in regards to those projects. And another thing that I think we can do, so I know my school's climate club, they built like a rain garden, and they like recorded a TikTok of the process of them making it. So definitely something we could do is either like go to the school when the project is being done and try to record a video there, or ask the project, I guess, like runners to record a video and send it to us.
I really love that idea. I think showcasing the process of the project is really going to inspire a lot of students, I think, because they'll be able to see how everything is started up. So I think, yeah, that'll be super encouraging. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything else to add?
One final comment, I promise. Just in talking about your website, I know you were mentioning putting that there. That's a great place too to kind of archive everything. Instagram and other methods are great for getting it out quickly and getting people excited. But as someone who applies for grants myself, one thing most grantors have, they might do all kinds of things like you all do, but they have a grants section on their webpage, and it talks about both the process to apply, deadlines, all those kind of things, but also past award winners. Again, people can get great ideas, and you get that publicity.
Absolutely. I think it would be really cool if we could interview our grant applicants so that they can sort of talk about the process, and then we can have that all on the website. So Faith, we were just talking about like having the grantees write up something, or we can write something with them and then putting it on the website so we can have a very comprehensive page on that. Cool, thank you. Go ahead.
One other thing, and this is definitely dependent on logistics of certain grants, but for certain ones, especially I think like gardens, it may make sense to have like small promotional events where maybe like regional council members and ambassadors can attend those events to really promote the development of the grant and the impact on the specific school community. So that's just one thing we could think about and then plan accordingly. So.
You mentioned interviews, Lumina, which I love that idea. It might be a good idea to use the successful grant awardees to almost mentor and encourage other people who might be interested in applying for grants. So as they start getting settled in their projects, maybe we could reach back out to them, see if they'd be interested in mentoring and helping out some other people who are interested in applying.
I love that idea so much. I think as we get into our round 2 of applications, we can really form a great system where past awardees can help the new ones. So really, really love that idea. Anyone else?
I actually had something to bring up about the grants rubric team or subcommittee. So I know last time for round 1, the rubrics committee, we had sort of almost like a spreadsheet set up, right, for how we were going to review the applications, but I think that ended up getting a little bit, we did not base our reviewing of the grants on the the spreadsheet we'd made up. So does anyone know if we are going to either create a more organized rubric or set standard for how we're going to review round 2 and I guess future grant applications?
100%. I think having a very detailed rubric will make things just so much easier for this next round. So I know we discussed this a little bit at a previous meeting, but having a point system where we have a couple of council members review each application and then award points, and then in the end we can average all of them to decide the grants that we're going to award. So I think that could be a good process. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so just on top of the point system, we do have that developed. It's within the rubric. And for council members, if you go through our Google Drive, under committees, under grants, it should be in there, maybe another folder within rubric. And then I was thinking points as a really good system just to start off, so that not everyone has to read through every single grant. You can kind of get an idea of other people's ideas and have just a baseline to go off of, and then those will be helpful going into our interviews. And if we have any tiebreaker kind of situations, it may be helpful to just go back and reference that system and what points were or were not awarded to a specific grant.
That's perfect. I think that prior to releasing our round 2 applications, we should have another meeting so that we can sort of finalize our rubric and then, finalize some of the processes. But yeah, that all sounds great. Thank you. And so, are we all, go ahead.
So I just had a really quick question regarding I guess the regulations or rules that we have for the grants. So I know that we discussed this in past meetings. Are we going to ask for the link to products that are going to be bought for the projects in the budgeting?
Personally, I think that we probably should. I remember seeing a couple of application budgets where they did include the link, and that was just so much easier to visualize the products. So I definitely think that's a good idea. Okay.
I have a really quick question for the grants committee. So did you revise the grant application at all? And if so, have you gone back with the I forgot what the committee is called, or the communications team, about changing it for different languages. That was because that was a struggle last time, and I wanted to just make sure that we didn't have that problem again.
That's a really, really good point. So I remember during one of our meetings, I believe we're taking out a part of one question because it seemed a little bit repetitive with another question. So yeah, once we have that, we'll definitely send it over to comms so that we can get those updated. And then definitely for this round of grants, having a few different languages, I think will be amazing. Awesome. Alrighty, well, I think that's basically all for grants. So I'll now pass it over to communications to share some updates regarding Green School certification and also school visits.
Yes, so I prepared a very brief presentation regarding something that I think the SCAC should explore, and that's regarding green schools and how we can get more of our schools green school certified with the power we have as a council. And you'll see I want us to focus primarily on secondary schools because if you look at the data, more elementary schools are certified compared to our middle and high schools. And especially since we have a better reach with middle and high schools, I think it's the best option to visit them and get their schools certified. But I quickly want to talk about Green Schools. For those of you who don't know, it's this amazing program run by the Maryland Association of Environmental and Outdoor Education. And they basically recognize schools all across Maryland that have basically met a specific criteria and specific objectives that make them a certified green school. Currently in MCPS, we have 105 certified green schools, I believe, according to their website, which is around 50%. However, if we can get 100% of all schools in Montgomery County certified, that would be a huge step forward in our sustainability goals. And if you'll see here, 80 elementary schools are certified, but only 9 high schools and 16 middle schools are certified. So, like I said, focusing on those secondary schools to become certified. And I'm not going to read everything on here, but these are the objectives that are listed on the MAEOE website, and this is how I know the objectives and how I know the criteria for how schools are recognized. But yeah, there's basically 3 main things: systemic sustainability, sustainability practices, and community partnerships, and this is what every green school must have to get certified. And then again, this is a really long timeline, but something I want to say is that the certification process to become a green school is around 2 years, which can be long and kind of intimidating for schools who might want to get certified, but it's actually a pretty easy and thorough process. And there's an online portal that really helps schools walk through the process of certification. But I don't think I want to walk through every little step. Kind of what I want us to do is I want us to visit. And we've already been doing that. Maggie and I visited Quince Orchard High School on Monday, and we spoke with their environmental club. Quince Orchard High School is not certified green school, so we met with them and we spoke with their advisor and their students, and we encouraged them to get certified. So we're going to walk them through their journey of the certification process, and hopefully they become a green school. And I kind of just want to walk you through really quickly how the slides look if the technology cooperates. But yeah, this is how a school visit slide would look like. And I'm just going to skim through this super quickly. It talks about the council, our introduction, we're your green voice, us, the 14 council members, fun facts about the council, what green schools are, the 3 objectives, the process. I showed you this just now, focusing on year 1 if they're interested, and then also your support is another section. We talk about monthly videos, the Loiterman Middle School Earth Day event, the Youth Climate Summit, and then getting involved as a climate ambassador. These slides we're hoping can be slides that are presented at every school visit, and you'll see I have slides dedicated for whether the school is certified or not. And then when we encourage schools to get certified, I kind of want us to really focus on the steps in year one. I'm hoping as a council we can start visiting schools throughout February, and this is kind of this is a rough draft timeline of what schools can follow to finish all the steps in year one. If I go back really quickly, these are all the steps in year one, and then this is them in a timeline. So in February, just setting up a green committee, setting up your application, March, having a staff meeting, beginning to upload documentation and contacting local support, and then April, celebrating by planning an environmental event, and then May, having 10% of teachers attend an environmental education professional development day. But yeah, that's a lot of information, but this is hopefully a timeline that we can give our schools to follow if they want to get certified. I know this is a lot of information. Another thing I want to share, I already said this, but on Monday at 11:15 a.m. around QO's lunch break, Maggie and I met with Marco, who is the president of QO's Environmental Club, and we spoke with them. Oh, I don't think this slide is finished, actually. I apologize for that. But yeah, we spoke with them and are looking forward to walking them through their certification process. Another update I want to share, this is really exciting and has something to do with our certification process, is on January 11th, I attended the Board of Education meeting, and when the meeting adjourned, I actually walked up to Dr. McKnight and I gave her a letter that outlines 4 requests. The 4 requests are, 1, working with the MCPS Board of Education to set up an MCPS Climate Action Plan work group. This would just be a group of community members that create a climate action plan, because currently we have a sustainability policy ECA, but I think a plan would be really helpful for our county to follow the goals outlined in that policy. I know Prince George's County has a climate action plan. They developed that in less than a year with a work group of community members, so I think that's something MCPS can work on. Also supporting our work as a Student Climate Action Council, requiring school admin to prioritize sustainability and certify their school as a Maryland Certified Green School, because I know we've said this multiple times. Oftentimes it can be, we see many school principals not prioritize sustainability and kind of put it on the back burner, but we really want to stress that this is important, and it's important to get your school Green School certified. And then the last one, we've spoken about this in the past, organizing a press conference. I think, yeah, this can be a partnership with the Board of Education, Superintendent, Sustainability and Compliance Division, and other environmental groups across the county. But I think this would be an important event to show how much the school system prioritizes this crisis.
Yeah, I think these are great ideas. And just a clarification question, going along with the idea of like doing a press conference, do you think that it would be towards the end of the school, seeing that we are already in the 2nd semester? I'm not sure exactly how that timeline would look. And then kind of what do you think is best? And then if anyone else has thoughts on that, maybe.
When should the press conference be?
Yeah, like approximately.
Again, that's up to us. I think end of school year, that works. But actually, when I spoke to Dr. McKnight, something she really stressed that she wanted to work on right away was actually bullet 3, which is what this presentation is about, requiring school admin to prioritize sustainability and get their school certified. So that's something she's willing to jump on and tackle right away, and then also working on the other 3 bullets as well. And then I want to thank everyone who signed my letter, and I'm still waiting on a response from Dr. McKnight. I gave her my email on a sticky note, but still waiting.
Peter, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess there's a few, but so the first thing is, for your outreach, you visit Gaithersburg, correct? Quince Orchard, sorry. So how did you set that up? You emailed or reached out to the president of the Green Club and he helped you set up the meeting, or Maggie did?
So actually, it was really convenient because both Ella Kaufman and Marco, who you saw in the picture of us, they're both the presidents of the club and they're both climate ambassadors too. So when we had our regional climate ambassador meeting, we were able to get in touch with them through that. And then from there, we just organized a date. We found a date that would work. Since we are at Northwest and they're at QO, it's literally like a 5-minute drive. So we just communicated with our attendance offices, some admin on both sides of the school, and it was a really simple setup process.
Reach out to your climate ambassadors. If you know that they're at a school that you would like to visit, contact them. I've reached out to all of the climate ambassadors actually in all the high schools in our region, and they've gotten back to me really quickly. So yeah, reach out to your climate ambassadors.
Yeah, so I think I definitely see like the value in doing the school visits. I think that one thing we could do kind of just to publicize the school visits and make it more effective is maybe reaching out, like as you said, to those different ambassadors and then making like a schedule or like a calendar. We could even put like a global announcement banner kind of on Canvas for students to see and access. But I think that really, maybe for next year too, like I won't be here, but like strategically planning out some of those visits once the council's more established, I think that would be more effective, just because I know some school visits tend to go on the wayside, but I think that's just another comment and thought, yeah.
I think we should, sorry.
Go for it, Nikita.
Oh, I was going to say, I think we should really utilize our social media. And I know, like, for example, like the SMOB, they also, like, the SMOB candidates right now are currently doing school visits. So, like, doing something similar to that where they, like, post about it a lot and then they ask for engagement. Like, I know me and Maggie briefly discussed this on Slack, but having, like, a swipe up being like, would you would you want the SCAC to come visit your school? Like, swipe up if you want to do so, and then that might also create more engagement. So I think really publicizing the fact that we're visiting schools on social media would be really beneficial as well.
For our whole Green School campaign, I just wanted to give you guys some advice real quick. It was actually, so the day that we went to QO, it was the day before a big AP Calc test. So there actually were no juniors or seniors in the meeting other than Marco, which was a little disappointing at first. But then the Mrs. Hayes, is that how you say it? The sponsor for the green team, she pointed out a really good point. Since we're trying to get them Green School certified, it is the lower classmen who are gonna be following through with this plan. So the upperclassmen, they've been there for a while, they're motivated and they will work hard on it. But showing the lower classmen that this is something that long-term they are going to have a very big impact on was actually very important. So I just wanted to point that out to you guys. And then really quick, the press conference about potentially scheduling it. I think it would be really cool if we did it in like the turnover period when we're like almost done with our time on the SCAC, or at least the seniors are. And then we've got the new SCAC already like onboarded. I think it would be a good opportunity to reflect on the past year and talk to the new SCAC.
So
yeah, I really love that idea of doing it like during the turnover period. And I just wanted to say, Peter, I think that, and Maggie, I think this Green School certification idea is really great, and it's a really good idea, and it's a really good way for us to actually motivate students to make a difference in their community. But I wanted to ask, do we have any ideas on which measures we would put in place in order to make sure that these students are actually like motivated to do this stuff and like they actually carry through? Because I know meeting them is like a big step into actually like getting this idea through the door, but I think it's important that we consider like how do we get them to actually want to do this and actually like follow through?
That's a really good question, and you know, of course we can't 100% rely on the people that we visit, but we just really need to, I think, each council member needs to maintain strong connections and communication with the advisor of each environmental club in each high school in their region. That would be the best option. I know Maggie and I going forward, we're gonna stay in strong communication with the advisor of the QO Environmental Club to ensure that they are, you know, because they said that they're interested in this. We asked if they're interested in it, and they mentioned they expressed their interest, and we're going to continue emailing them and their advisor to ensure that they, work on this process. And if they have any questions, they have us to reach out to. So yeah, just thorough communication.
So kind of going after that real quick, I think one issue that I've seen at least in our program is kind of just like majority groups who apply for grants and are really involved kind of come from different sections of MCPS. So like I know that like at like Damascus High School in my region, for example, we have maybe like 3 ambassadors. And I think that really the SCAC needs to be concerned also about how we're incorporating a lot of like geographical diversity into our grants program, into everything that we're doing with the school visits. So I think that when we do plan school visits or kind of go about outreach, we need to consider what schools do we not have those connections with? Because like what Peter was saying is if you have a connection with the teacher of one of those environmental clubs, it makes it vastly easier to access those students, to encourage them, and to ultimately get them more money and empower them. But I think that because there's that gap of certain students, like I know Raj in the DCC has had also some like trouble recruiting some students, and there's just a lot of like access issues that I think the council needs to be more strategic about, and how we approach things, especially like the visits and the grants.
Something I want to add on in terms of reaching out for school visits, not only can you reach out to your climate ambassadors that maybe go to the school that you want to visit, but I took the time to look through all 66 middle and high school websites and found their extracurricular lists, and which usually list the advisors of their environmental club. Some schools, of course, don't have any green team or green club whatsoever. Some schools aren't displaying their extracurricular list on their website, so that was a challenge. But for the most part, I sent everyone a spreadsheet that has emails to all environmental club advisors at all middle and high schools.
Circling. Oh,
no, go ahead, Mia.
Okay, great. So circling a little bit back around to like these visits and working with these students, I also think that it's important to note that we not only need to work with students who are already in environmental clubs, but with students who might not be in any, because we need to reach those students who don't know much about climate change, who don't know much about sustainability, who don't know much about what they can do to get involved. Because it's one thing to have students who are already involved and are excited to work, but it's another thing to bring more students in and allow more people to be aware and willing to work. And I think that's something that we as a council probably need to work on, is not just targeting people who are already involved, not just our own climate ambassadors, but reaching out to new groups of students and new groups of participants, because we need more voices and we need to work on educating as well.
That's a really good point. I know there are so many students who are unaware about various opportunities at schools. So I was just wondering, Mia, do you have any ideas on how you want to reach out to those students?
Yeah, I have a few ideas, but I also know that it's very difficult, especially because we've been working with communications and social media posts and banner posts, and I understand that not everyone checks those and not everyone is involved in that way. So being able to reach out to more students is definitely difficult. But I think one way to kind of help that is to make sure that these opportunities are presented in school as during morning announcements, presented. I know we've been working a little bit with our slides, trying to get them on morning announcements as well, but also working with, I guess, teachers outside of those organizations, outside of green clubs, outside of APES classes, outside of things like that, working on communication with these principals and helping build these relationships so we can get more students who may not know about these opportunities.
So I think adding on to that, I think that's definitely a good approach. One idea that I kind of floated by a couple council members that I wanted to share was potentially having, so I know that every school now has a green team leader. If we have those green team leaders collaborate with the SCAC, so I know during a lot of high schools have club fairs, we could set up have students set up kind of a club fair booth to just essentially try to see if we can get interest that way. I think especially for next year, if we start planning some of this out like over the summer, I think that's more important because the nature of the club fairs is that they tend to start early in the school year during September, November, October. And I think that is also like by inserting ourselves into schools, we give students an opportunity to start off from the bat and kind of experience what that SCAC is beyond just maybe checking on Instagram or our other communication methods.
Yeah, so I just wanted to really quickly circle back to the topic of like school visits and their organization. So Nikita and I actually have drafted an email that we are thinking about sending to school administrations and like other school admin. So we are planning to send those out. And then in addition to that, I just wanted to say that we actually have had a post for like the dates of our school visits ready for a while. We just haven't actually gotten like dates from schools. So once we actually do send those emails out and do get dates out, we already have like a template that we can use to post the dates that we will be visiting those schools.
And then adding on quickly to what Walter said, yeah, so that email would be like to send to admin, especially if we don't already have a connection at the school, like that would be very beneficial. And like, I think it's in the drive, so anyone who wants to use it can. And then one thing I would, first off, thank you, Peter, again, for making this like really comprehensive plan. Like, I think it's great. And I think that I know like if me and Raj are doing any school visits, we'll definitely be using these slides because they're very helpful. I think one other idea for publicizing these school visits and just getting the SCAC more well known across the county, because I know, at least in my experience with other student advocacy organizations, like talking to people in them, not everyone is, even people who are very involved in student advocacy are not necessarily aware of the SCAC, and there's so many climate activists and advocates across the county who still don't necessarily know what it is. So I don't think it would be a bad idea to, for example, talk at like an MCR executive board meeting, see if we can ask for 1 or 2 minutes, or for example, like the Lynn Harris internship, also maybe publicizing the SCAC there. Or I know like Peter Lumina, you have Eco Moco like mentioning it. I don't know if you have, but also just to, we should definitely reach out to people who are not involved with environmental activism yet or who want to get involved, but also plugging into circles that we already know have a lot of advocates would not also be a bad idea as well.
So really quickly, I'll just add, I think like a lot of this we talked about really early on in the year, this school year, when we had our meetings, that essentially we need like a strong unified message to a lot of the schools and the principal leaders of Montgomery County. And I think that we discussed like sending out homeroom slides individually, and then we did pursue that option. And because that wasn't super effective and that like a lot of principals are balancing a lot of things, and some of them didn't respond, I think we can also, I'm continuing to work with Ms. Dublinsky, but we can continue to pursue like a memo message for different principals to kind of take action if they haven't already. And that is like the main action I think would help with kind of publicizing in those spaces.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, I definitely agree. I would say that I think all of us individually reaching out to our own principals in our clusters is a good idea, but it also can get really confusing, especially because we could be saying different things. We could be just the communication, I feel like that's not the best way to do it. And I think that like doing a huge email or like a chain or something that like is a message from all of us instead of just like individuals within the council would probably be a more effective way, because I feel like it would look more unified and like cohesive.
Yes, we have run into some issues. I know sending mass emails out to principals, unfortunately, we can't do that. But I think I completely agree with your comment. But something I want to say, and I want us to kind of wrap up this discussion really quickly, but jumping off of what Nikita and Walter said, we basically have everything covered for you, right? Nikita and Walter made an email template that you all can send to the middle and high schools in your region to schedule school visits. Slides are already done for certified and non-certified schools. So really, I think it's Nikita, Walter, and I really designed this comprehensive and easy process for the rest of the council to schedule school visits so we can get this done as quickly as possible. And I do agree with other comments that were said about social media. I think you've seen, SMOBs advertise their school visits on in a post. I think that's something we can do. We can spend, rest of January, February scheduling school visits, and once we have confirmed dates, we can put it on a post so that people are aware about visiting our schools, and then they can show up. And then I think regarding next steps, I think each council member who has a region can begin reaching out to the environmental club advisors at each middle and high school in their region. I think that would be really helpful, and I think that's something we should do, as soon as possible.
If any of you are struggling with non-response or you don't know where to start or you're a little overwhelmed, please reach out to Peter or I or any other council members. We would love to help you out and really take the initiative and get started on school visits and keep the ball rolling.
I have one more thing to say in regards to this. I promise it'll be quick because I know we have to move on. Do you guys think it would be a bad idea maybe to have like a meeting within the next 2 weeks just to wrap up everything and kind of discuss and like what we talked about and come up with next steps for the school visit, just so everyone's on the same page and knows what to do? I guess I'll send a message in Slack about it later.
Personally, I think that's a good idea.
Hi, I know you're trying to move on, but I can't let you move on without just complimenting you and just saying how impressed we are with these efforts. Not only with the materials you developed, but with the discussion and the very insightful questions and additions and things. It's truly impressive. So my very small team and a very small, even smaller team in the Division of Sustainability and Compliance are the two groups of staff members in MCPS that are supporting schools in green school certification. So we are doing parallel efforts that you are all the time. We're constantly reaching out to schools, trying to figure out who it is in that school that we can grab onto that will lead the efforts, and so on. So it's so great to hear that it's going to be coming from your end as well. We are, next week, there's a meeting of all administrators and supervisors in the county, so 500, 600 people, and we will be hosting a voluntary breakout session focused on green schools, where we'll share the benefits of green schools, the goals that the county and the state have for increasing the number of green schools, and then a panel of principals and teachers and other staff who have led those efforts in their schools. So we're hoping a large group will show up. We have one of our associate superintendents who's going to be there to not require, but which we would love, but to strongly encourage that people take this on in their schools. The way you explained it was wonderful. It really simplified a process that can seem very overwhelming. And I wanted to offer that another possible piece you might want is your ambassadors or your council members. If you wanted to become a little more well-versed in the green school process, we could do that, whether through Mayo itself or for MCPS staff, so that when you're contacting those people as follow-up, you really know the process well, and you can say, okay, have you done X? Have you done Y? So it can really, I know when I meet with people, I sat down with a teacher earlier this week, we pulled up their application that's in progress and looked at the documentation for each piece and what was there, what wasn't there, those kind of things. So we have about, I don't know, less than 10 people on the staff end trying to do that with 211 schools. So really appreciate your help. I do have one clarifying question. Your timeline you shared was great. Is that, and that is a great year one timeline. It's perfect. I might steal it. That's intended for next year, being their first year, or this year?
That's intended for this year, but that may be a problem.
So February's in a week.
Yes.
But that was your first block on there.
Well, hopefully the items listed under February won't take too long, and we're hoping to have a lot of school visits done by the end of February. But yeah, I can see how it might be ambitious.
It is. There's nothing wrong with being ambitious.
Yeah.
But yeah. And there are some schools that probably have many, many great things in place. It's just a matter of documenting it and getting into that portal. It is ambitious. Just be aware. And I don't want anyone to get discouraged, that it's not all happening this year.
And I just want to add, you all and your teams are doing amazing work, and the reason why we're taking on this campaign is to help you all, and hopefully with this, you guys can lay back a bit, and we're always willing to help you with this, and this is something I think the council is very passionate to take on. I had one question for Faith. She was wondering if we could attend that meeting that the associate superintendent is attending that you mentioned. Would that be possible?
We actually, the few of us that are planning it, had talked about you all coming. The only reservation we had was it was during the school day. So I don't know how that works.
I mean, our school visits Maggie and I's school visit was during the school day. Maybe we could be excused. I don't know.
I think we could email about it and maybe discuss it further with Ms. Lynn, but I think for now that's okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, well, that's it from me. Any last comments? I know we want to get to recess and dinner, and there's pizza, which is getting cold, but any last comments or questions? If not, we can slowly transition to our recess. It is 7:07, and we can come back roughly between 7:15 and 7:20, maybe, let's say 7:17 or 7:18. Does that work? Okay. Thank you.
after recess, we're going to head back to our communications discussion. So I'll pass it off to our wonderful social media managers. So could y'all update us on the TikTok and Instagram, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you aren't aware, we have created our TikTok, and Peter has actually created his first TikTok, A Day in the Life. We have posted on the TikTok and the Instagram, and it went pretty well on the Instagram, but not so great on the TikTok. So I was hoping, it's okay. I think it's because we haven't really publicized the TikTok as much as we should. So I think we should definitely start getting more posts out there to publicize that more. But it got over 3,000 views on Instagram Reels. So I think that's pretty good. In regards to posts, we have a bunch of templates set for any sort of post anyone needs us to make, so yeah.
Just to add on to about the TikTok engagement, I think we're thinking about just like in general creating funnier or more like relatable videos on the TikTok like from now on. Based off of like what I know from TikTok, that's really the content that a lot of people our age are really looking for. So I think that's something we should really work on.
I also wanted to just add on, I know this is later in the discussion on climate ambassadors, but we are meeting with our comms climate ambassadors soon to gain more insight as to what they would like to see posted on our social medias.
Yes, so a couple of things I want to add. I think we had a discussion once, like talking about how we could, film TikToks at these meetings. But something I think we do need to focus on when it comes to social media is engagement. I don't know about you, but I think, of course, our first post with the logo, it got over 180 likes. And we do have a lot of followers, but what I've been seeing is whenever we make a regular post about an upcoming meeting or something like that, it hasn't gotten, a lot of, I guess, likings and stuff like that. I know the TikTok on Instagram, it got like over 100 likes, but I think somehow finding ways to increase engagement. But I think y'all are doing an amazing job when it comes to Instagram posts. That's just an ongoing thing, but yeah.
I think maybe one way to help with that is like during these posts when we're posting about our meetings, we can also incorporate TikTok in that, like make it a reel, make it a video, and then like advertise the meeting that way, because I guess if that's what's getting more likes and more views, I think that's probably the best way to share information, rather than just like a regular like box post, but yeah. And it can be announced by like one of us, and like we can make it like a fun like announcement video or something like that.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And I think I would propose us to just meet for like maybe 30 minutes online someday soon so that we can plan out the logistics of that.
One thing I could add is that if honestly we ask our ambassadors to, like every time we make a post, just alert them like, hey guys, we've made a post, and then ask them to maybe repost it, because a lot of our ambassadors actually have a lot more like points of contact, and they have a much bigger range of like either following or just people they know. So just asking them to repost it, I guess, would definitely increase the amount of people we get our videos out to.
Speaking of, it'll be quick. Speaking about reposts, if it would be possible to also get, I don't know if like the SMOB could do, or other student organizations. I know like, for example, like MCR will sometimes repost different organizations. So if we could, or like green teams, just any other accounts on Instagram that have like a different reach or more of a reach than us to repost our like posts and like reels would also be great if possible.
I just had a quick question. Does anyone know if like the actual MCPS account has like reposted any of our posts? Because I believe that's something we brought up in the past. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think we could probably reach out to the communications team in MCPS for that. I think if one of us wants to email Mr. Cram, that should probably be okay.
So just coming off of the success from the day in the life of a council member post, should we continue with that? Should we kind of go through all of us?
So what I was thinking was yes. That's one thing. And also with the meeting with the ambassadors, we're hoping to just flow some more ideas. Because we did have everything written down in one of the folders we have, but I think we could just get more ideas running through our ambassadors.
Yeah, I kind of want to ask, does anyone want to go next? I would recommend, based on my experience, picking a day in your life that's actually like quite busy. You know, I picked a day where I had filming for our monthly recap video. And I also like interviewed a grant applicant during my lunch break. There was a lot of SCAC things going on during that day in my life. So I would just recommend picking, you know, a busy day where you're involved after school, maybe even like a day where you come to one of our, like these meetings. So yeah, is anyone interested in maybe doing it like, next?
I think that the budget people should do one of them tomorrow.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say that. I think I could definitely do that, and I know tomorrow is like a really busy day for me, so I think I can definitely try to get that done.
You should go for that.
Any other comments for TikTok or Instagram? All right, if not, next on the agenda item is publishing of the website. So does anyone have any updates to share regarding the website development?
Yeah, so currently I sent out the draft, so I'm waiting for more feedback from the council, but as soon as we have more feedback on the resource website draft, then we can link that to the actual MCPS page, which is meant for students who are applying for grants, who want more information, because I know that there are some limitations on what the MCPS communications team has told us we could have on our website, so that is kind of the approach that we took, and then kind of up there, I put a couple placeholders with the ambassadors I've been working with and also some other students. If you guys have any ideas for what other additions you want into that website, please make that to me by the end of next week. That way I can have it before Q3 starts reasonably.
Hi, thank you so much, Faith. Those are really great updates to hear. And then our next item is a discussion on should we keep the homeroom slides. I know we started that closer to the beginning of the year, but does anyone have any thoughts on that?
I have something to add here. So I think one of like our concerns, because I know I've been talking with some people in the council previously, and that was like there was barely any schools who have actually, like first when we tried to reach out, have acknowledged that we reached out and then even shown our slides, like a very, very small amount. So I think if we were to continue, we would need to make sure more schools were actually getting this. And then I think something else we discussed was also the frequency of homeroom slides, because I don't think it would necessarily be a bad idea, instead of doing monthly slides, do bi-monthly, or even like one like set of slides every 3 months or every like 10 weeks or quarterly. Because I still think that we can send some important messages through the slides, but maybe frequency is also something to consider, because a lot of schools also have a lot of other things they'd like to share.
Yeah, just want to quickly add on. When it comes to homeroom slides, I'm open to whatever the council wants to do with this, but I just wanted to share my quick personal opinion regarding homeroom slides. I think as a council, when it comes to reaching out to the student body, we should definitely pick ways that will receive the most attention. And I think, you know, social media, the monthly video recaps we have, those are already great ways to capture a student's attention. And then we have run into a lot of, I think, roadblocks when it comes to homeroom slides, like making sure all schools present it. I think it is kind of a tough thing to work with, but hopefully when we, you know, develop, I guess, a stronger form of communication with schools, we can get those slides out more. But personally, I think as a council, we already have a lot on our plate, and I think focusing on maybe other methods of communication might be a better option.
I fully agree. I think that homeroom slides can be great, but right now when we're thinking about our priorities, we have TikTok, Instagram, which is really good, and when it comes to slideshows, again, visits, that's a great deck of slideshows, which is very similar. And I think that visits are more effective.
So I just had a really quick question regarding that the memo that I believe we were talking about. Does anyone know like the state of like that I guess, like project.
Yeah, so we've been requesting a memo, and that would provide our homeroom slides, or at least our introductory slides, to schools that haven't yet shown them. As far as I know, that memo has not been sent out. We're working with Ms. Dublinsky to make that happen, but I don't think that has actually happened yet. And I know there are some difficulties with reaching out to all principals, so that might be part of the problem. But I think we're trying to work that out. I also wanted to add something about homeroom slides. The homeroom slides committee had brought up the idea of possibly just having homeroom slides for elementary schools, and then only sharing monthly videos, or, if we want to do bi-monthly videos, that's fine. But only sharing those videos mostly with the middle and high school audiences. That would be more, we could direct those videos more towards an older audience, and then we could have some slides that are more focused and maybe more interactive for the younger students.
Sorry, I'm gonna go. I just had one little piece of input. I guess you could say this is kind of a hot take, but I think that any form of outreach is important, and even though the homeroom slides are not working currently, I think with a memo, they'll be much more effective. And I don't think we should give up on them yet, because though we're showing a lot of slideshows, I think in the end, that's what will help boost our, overall, what's the word I'm looking for? More presence. Presence, that is the word. I think it'll boost our presence more. And I think whichever way that we can get our name out is just a good way. As someone who is helping out with editing the slideshow, I know it didn't take that long to revamp it, so I think it's definitely something we should keep on the table.
So I think, in my personal opinion, only if the memo gets sent out, that's the only time we should actually continue creating these homeroom slides and videos, because I know in those homeroom slides, Megan created that video that took her 50 hours, and it didn't even get shown at a majority of schools. And I in all honesty, I just don't think putting that much effort into something that's going to be showed to one school really isn't that worth it. And I would also say at RM, my school, RM has a lot of slides that they already present during advisory. So for example, we've had lessons regarding Latino Heritage Month and other stuff like that during advisory lessons, and these are already pretty pre-planned out, so I don't really know how feasible it would be to continuously send out these videos and homeroom slides and ask schools to present them.
A potential thing we could consider is, instead of having a full slideshow, or maybe we have our introductory slides already, but something we could consider instead of having a full slideshow is sending one or two slides with sending one or two slides with important announcements that they can include in their advisory slideshows, because that is a lot easier. I know that my school will do other announcements that aren't necessarily related to the lesson of the slides. So if we could do that, that is also another option, and it wouldn't take a really long time to create one or two slides, and also schools are more likely to show one or two slides because it'll be easier for them to find the time.
I just want to quickly unmute and say I agree with Cindy. Any communication is good communication. But in my personal experience, what I've seen in these advisory lessons is, unfortunately, not many students are paying attention to them, and they're on their phone during these lessons. And I just have concerns about how useful this method of communication can be. But yeah, I agree with all the comments that have been said. Something that Quinley brought up is he was wondering if we wanted to quickly take a vote maybe to see if we should postpone, I guess, the creation of homeroom slides for a couple of months once we sort out a lot of the projects we're doing, and hold off on it a bit. Would we be interested in maybe doing a vote?
I have one thing, clarification to ask.
Yeah.
So would it be postponing homeroom slides completely, or should we have multiple options, like postponing it completely, or still having it for the elementary school population, for example, or just what would we what would the vote be exactly?
So could we make maybe a few options here? So I think we could have either no homeroom slides, we could postpone the slides and have maybe strategic planning. So we have like one at the beginning of the year, one at the end of the semester, one at the end for the next year, or we could continue trying to push out more communication via homeroom slides. Would that work?
This might be easier to decide on the SCAC if it's so many options. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's something I think we can definitely do over Slack, and that's a good idea, Faith, having multiple options, because I think there are different angles, and then by incorporating multiple options, we can have the best of both worlds. So.
I had a quick question about our videos. So I know this isn't, it's not the same as the one that Megan, you were editing, but the like monthly recap videos, those, are we still interested in doing those? Because I feel like those were a good way of communication and I enjoyed filming those. So I think that maybe we should continue with that, especially because it's a great way to get out information in a less like, oh, you have to look at these slides right now during advisory sort of way, so.
Yeah, so we did post your video. I don't think we ended up sending it out individually to principals just because that was really honestly like a nightmare to try to organize, and it didn't get much response the first time, so we were trying to work on sending it out in a memo, but we did post that video on Instagram. We're having some technical difficulties editing the next video, but I do think that's something we want to continue. And I think most of us are in agreement on that. I think it was more about the homeroom slides that we're considering getting rid of.
I'd also want to add, like, I think that, Mia, your video was really just engaging and it gave a lot of updates. So I think maybe we could put those videos in a global announcement banner and do that periodically. Like, I talked to our SMOB about potentially like pushing out videos that way, and I think he's open to maybe sending like 1 or 2 out. So if you want to pursue that option, I think talking to like different avenues of like established forms of communication would be better, because I know that, Megan, we currently have the videos up on our actual like MCPS website, but it's not getting any views there, obviously, just because that's a static website. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a great idea. And I think that maybe we can send them to the MCPS account, like their Instagram account, to get more traction that way as well. But I also was wondering, would you guys be willing to like make other types of videos, kind of like update videos, but a little bit more personal, a little bit more fun, like with like MCPS TV, like sending those out about obviously like climate action in our council, but also ways people can get involved, things that they can do individually, maybe like fun videos about what they can do right now for sustainability, things like that.
So I think that's a great idea, but I'm struggling to see how that's very different from our monthly videos.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe they'd be a little bit shorter and a little bit less content heavy about like what we're doing specifically, and more about like
more focused on the viewer and less about us.
Exactly.
I love
Yes.
that. Yeah, that's great, Mia.
So I was gonna say, I think we could just maybe have like work with like, I like those videos kind of as a way of like boosting engagement, but I think that MCPS TV Studio, just because we have to schedule them in advance and there's so much like production that goes into it, it might be better to save that kind of idea or like video type just for TikToks mainly, and then working with Cindy and Walter. But I do think that we definitely need that, just because engaging with the at-large MCPS community as a council isn't just us throwing information at students, but really like letting them get to know us and us as people, and then kind of what we're doing to support them.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that it would really help us build a better relationship with the students that we're trying to reach, especially because like not everyone is going to be looking at like the slideshows. Not everyone's going to be like looking at everything else that we're doing. And I think that like those videos could be a great way to engage people.
Go ahead.
So I was just gonna ask, in those videos, not necessarily like too in-depth going into this, but to focus more on the person watching the video, do we also want to include what each region is doing? Not like, as you said, not too content heavy, but maybe just like a short description of what each region is trying to focus on right now? Because I feel like that would, instead of giving a generic description of what they could be participating on and what we're doing as a council, we could kind of focus more on what their area, I guess, is trying to focus on and what they can help to do in their area.
I think a general overview of what each area is doing is a good idea.
All right, awesome. So does anyone else have anything for communications?
So I just had a really quick question regarding recording videos for each specific area. So would that entail just recording 6 separate videos and then just posting them onto for example, our TikTok and Instagram, or are there 6 clusters? However many clusters there are.
So I think again, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think what I'm trying to say is, in one big video, maybe just having short segments or short clips of a council member from each region talking about what the region is doing in that either short interval of whatever projects we're doing or what we're doing at that exact time, or projects that an ambassador could help out with or any student could participate in. It doesn't have to be way too long. It's just a very short description of what an area is doing at a given time.
I think ultimately we can make one big video of all of those just combined. Instead of a bunch of small ones, I think it would just be more efficient to make it into one.
Just keeping an eye on the time, do you think we can quickly move on to our climate ambassadors? Okay, perfect. So for those of you who don't know, we have over 200 students, or climate ambassadors as we call them, and they really help out with our work. We met with them actually from 5 to 6 p.m. right before this meeting, and they're working on so many exciting projects from communications. They're helping develop our website. They're helping make social media posts. They're also helping with our research on artificial turf and incorporating more environmental literacy into some of our social studies and English classes. So this is a really great group of students that we want to expand. So I'm kind of looking at elementary school students and how we can get more connections on the elementary school level, because our goal as a council is to have climate ambassadors from all 211 schools. So I think one way we want to do that is by reaching out to elementary school PTAs. Hopefully they can spread the word better, and I think that's something we can explore. If anyone has any thoughts, yeah, feel free to add them.
So I have a few things to add. So I totally agree with Peter, and I think it's definitely important to get more elementary schoolers engaged, but I do think we just need to keep in mind that the way we would be engaging 3rd to 5th graders is very, very different than how we would be engaging our middle schoolers on up. For example, what we use to communicate with them is typically Slack or email, and there are some elementary schoolers who check their email, but it's not necessarily the most common thing. I don't think I was really checking my email when I was in elementary school, or not extremely often, and I definitely wasn't using Slack. So I think we should just keep in mind or come up with a new way to be interacting with these elementary schoolers, because I think it's really important, especially to get kids who are interested young in sustainability and climate activism. We just need to make sure that we kind of maybe change the way we communicate, maybe have a separate program or find a different way to engage these elementary schoolers, just because they're a younger age demographic. And then connecting this back with the homeroom slides, if we were thinking to still continue slides for elementary schoolers, this would be the slides would definitely also be a way, in addition to reaching out to PTAs, for getting more elementary schoolers involved.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was going to say, kind of before we go further into elementary schools, engaging those ambassadors, I definitely agree that we should expand as much as possible. But I think that my main concern currently is the way in which we are engaging the current ambassadors we have right now, because as we mentioned, we have over 200 ambassadors, and most of them exist on the online Slack workspace that we have. But I think that kind of the problem that I see in my eyes about the way that we've structured the program is it's very if you want to join a project, here's a project or a channel that you can join as an ambassador, and then kind of the organization behind that isn't as outlined beforehand. So I think that some ambassadors are kind of having confusion about what exactly the program expectations are, kind of where we're going with certain projects. And I think that we should focus mainly on outlining this before and kind of really solidifying our vision for the high schoolers, middle schoolers, before we kind of delve more into elementary schoolers. Not that I don't think that we should do it, but just because I do think that majority of the work that we are dealing with grants currently kind of pertains to the secondary level.
Okay, I did want to add, a few months back, I visited my elementary school media specialist to talk about outreach for the Student Climate Action Council, and she brought up actually a great point, is that some of the videos, like our monthly videos and our homeroom slides, even the elementary school ones, were very much aimed towards secondary schools and didn't really fit the elementary school age level, and they were just a little too advanced for these teeny tiny kindergartners to understand what we're trying to get through to them. So I think also maybe one thing we might want to consider is maybe a video aimed specifically towards elementary schoolers, explaining what we are just in more simple terms that they can just grasp easier.
I think that's a really good idea. And one idea I had is we could possibly involve our climate ambassadors in helping us do this outreach, because we could have our middle school climate ambassadors and climate ambassadors with connections with different elementary schools go into the classrooms and present. Because I feel like we have 200 climate ambassadors, we're able to reach so many more people than just the 14 of us trying to go into schools and talk with them. Because I think that our climate ambassadors have such a great connection with so many schools. I think we should really give them the opportunity to also conduct some school visits, especially to elementary schools, and we can really focus our presentation towards these elementary schoolers.
I think that having these school visits to elementary schools might actually be our best way to communicate with them, just because they are so young, just because they're definitely, like you said, not checking their emails, and it's hard to communicate with them through the videos that we're aiming towards secondary students. So it definitely, I think that going to see them and going to talk to them face to face and explaining and demonstrating and showing them exactly what we're trying to do and what we want them to do, and I think they need to see a model so they can look up to it and say, oh, well, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, this is what I can be doing. So I think that school visits is probably the best way to engage younger students.
I think I would definitely agree with that, but I think something we need to take in mind is like actually how many elementary schools we actually do have in MCPS, because there's, honestly, I don't know how many, but I think there's over 100, and I just wanted to circle back to what Faye said earlier about like some of our climate ambassadors being like a little bit confused. I would definitely agree with this. I have like a couple of friends who are ambassadors, and like sometimes like they'll just come to me and just be like, what am I supposed to do? And like I feel like this is something that we can definitely work towards, like I guess like having a solution. And I feel like one thing we can definitely do is just communicating in general more with a lot of the ambassadors, because I feel like a lot of our communication just consists of like some announcements like here and there. So I feel like we should just be a little bit more consistent with a lot of what we're saying to our ambassadors.
I think when it comes to our ambassadors, it's really important that we set like a clear guideline of what it is exactly that they're doing, because I feel like that's something that, like, that's a really important step that we missed in the beginning. Like, we didn't actually explain to them what it means to be an ambassador. Like, we kind of went over it, but it was pretty vague. So I think when we send out these acceptance emails, or just like, you've been accepted to this ambassador program, we should consider like what we want them to know about the program, so that they actually understand, like when they go into the Slack channel, I should join this channel and I should do this and talk to this person. And when it comes to the elementary schoolers, I honestly think the best way to engage them would probably be just like hosting an event. And like you said, I think it's not possible for us to go to all these schools. We could have our ambassadors go and like volunteer, and that's an option, but the best thing I think would be to have like a hands-on event, like say, oh, let's just go pick up trash, or let's like just teach them about the very basics, because they don't really, when you're this age, you don't really understand exactly what it is that we're doing and why it's important and how to go about it. So I think the focus should be just introducing them to the program.
I think that there's a lot of great points here, but looking at the time, and MCPS TV, I'm pretty sure is going to cut us off at 8. We should definitely start moving on, and we can continue this conversation in the Slack.
Megan could have one comment. I know she's been trying to speak multiple times.
Okay, I'll keep this really short. I'm sorry, but I have been meeting with a teacher at Rachel Carson Elementary School, and she's doing a pilot program with students. She's teaching them all about sustainability. They're doing composting. They're collecting plastic bottle caps. They're learning about waste reduction. It's amazing. And I was thinking we could use that as a pilot program to try to get contacts in other elementary schools and spread that sort of more structured program. We definitely need good, involved teachers to make that happen, but I think that's the best way to go about elementary school ambassadors.
I agree. One more quick comment, and then I want to transition to operations and outreach. I do agree with the comment from Walter that there are a lot of elementary schools, and I think maybe conducting school visits at elementary schools might not be the best option just because there are so many elementary schools. And then another thing I want to explore is we mentioned that these are elementary schoolers and they don't check their Gmail. So I think developing a system where we can get their parent information is something that we should explore as a council, just so that we can ensure that our elementary ambassadors are engaged as much as possible. And then one quick thing, we are onboarding. We have rolling ambassador applications out right now. And yeah,
Can I say one thing about this, Peter?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, right. So me, Cindy, and Walter, I think, decided that our onboarding meeting date will be next Monday. So we'll send out emails and everything for that. Like, we know it's we know it's a day with no school, but we're planning to host it in the evening. And then one more thing, Megan, would it be possible to maybe have this teacher meet with the SCAC at some point so we could talk to her about the program?
Yeah, I can definitely talk to her about that.
Alrighty, awesome. So I think we had so many great discussions, and I'm so excited for everything. So we are running out of time. But for operations and outreach, our discussion question is, should we keep this committee? So do we want to move this conversation to Slack, or do we want to discuss this really quickly?
Move to Slack. We have 5 minutes.
I agree. Okay, perfect. So you can see linked in the agenda, we have a meeting chair responsibilities checklist. And one thing that we wanted to bring up is there a council member who's interested in organizing and serving as the chair for our next meeting, which is going to take place on Tuesday, February 20th, same time, same place, 6 to 8 p.m. at Carver.
And someone who hasn't chaired yet, I would like to add.
I would be happy to do that.
Perfect. Thank you. Cool. So keep in mind, as chair, you are responsible for organizing the meeting's agenda, ensuring that the meeting will be live streamed on the MCPS TV YouTube channel, and ensuring that there is a virtual Zoom link for participants to join, as well as keeping the council within time throughout the meeting. Thank you so much, Megan.
Something I want to add, if you look in our under operations and outreach, there's the second bullet says SCAC meeting chair responsibilities checklist. That's something that I just created because now that we're incorporating this new live stream option and everything else, that's just a checklist I added for any future chairs who want to use to make sure that they have everything ready to go with the upcoming meeting. But with that, we can go ahead and reach out. SSL information for council members is posted on our Google Drive.
And Peter, I would quickly add, I'll chair with Megan too, just because I know there's usually 2.
Okay, that would be great. And yeah, thank you everyone for another productive SCAC meeting. I'm so proud of us for pulling this off and getting this live stream option. This is amazing, and we had an amazing discussion. And I think our next meeting is scheduled for February 20th. Same time, same place, but just a month later. But with that, thank you all so much for this amazing meeting. And
thank you so much, Peter and Lumina. You did a great job chairing, great job keeping us in the loop, coming into the meeting. You did awesome.
And I just want to add a thank you to MCPS TV for making this possible.
Yes.
100%. Cool.
Okay. Well, thank you, MCPS TV. I know you're watching. And we can go ahead and wrap up. See you February 20th.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.